A few days ago, Alberta Premier Rachel Notley announced that she was giving a $440 million loan guarantee to a Calgary company called Value Creation that's building a massive new oil sands upgrader near Edmonton. Here, take a look at this 30-second video that Notley released. You can see her there with Dr. Columba Young, the president and majority owner of the company.
I'm very proud to be here today to partner with Made in Alberta companies like Value Creation. This Calgary-based company is on track to invest $2 billion in a new upgrading facility in the industrial heartland outside of Edmonton. It's going to create over 2,000 jobs. Our government is proud to be helping to make this happen. We make energy that's better for the climate. We make energy that's better for our economy. And we make energy using the best people on earth to make it, Albertans.
In addition to that campaign-style ad, the government of Alberta put out an official press release. Let me quote a few lines from it. Calgary-based Value Creation, Inc. and its wholly owned subsidiary Value Chain Solutions, Inc. is on track to invest $2 billion in an upgrading facility in the Alberta industrial heartland, just east of Edmonton, which will create more than 2,000 construction jobs and another 200 full-time positions once the facility is up and running. Notley went even further, saying, quote, "Construction of the Strathcona County-based project is already underway." Notley made this announcement in a packed room of reporters who gave her the positive media coverage she needs for her campaign. It was a great day for Notley because it proved that she could get massive investments in the oil patch, and the construction's already underway on this amazing new upgrader. Except it's a lie. It's just not true. Sorry, I wish it were true. I wish someone really was willing to invest $2 billion into an oil sands upgrader. I wish that construction really was underway, but it's not. Our Alberta Bureau Chief, Sheila Gunn-Reid, went to the project site last week, which just happens to be down the road from her home. There is no activity there at all. There is no construction already underway. There is no construction at all. It is mainly empty fields. It looks like there was some construction 10 years ago, but then it was abandoned. They haven't put a shovel in the ground in a decade. What little construction there was a decade ago now looks a bit like those ruined old buildings in Detroit. Look at it. Sheila drove around the property for an hour. She confirmed that it was the property in question from the signs on the fence. I looked at a map as well. I phoned the industrial park where this abandoned property is located. They didn't even know what I was talking about at first. They did confirm that Value Creation does own the land, but nothing has been done on it in a decade. They had to look it up. They were so unfamiliar with it. So why did Rachel Notley specifically say that construction is already underway? Why would she lie like that? I went on the website of the company. Other than a copy of Rachel Notley's press release, which you can see at the top there, the website hasn't been updated in years. I clicked on their news releases page and there was actually nothing there at all. I clicked on their recent events page and there was nothing there. In fact, the page looks broken. Notley says construction is already underway and they're about to hire 2,000 people, but their website page to hire people, it doesn't even work. So I did something that I don't think any of those media party journalists who wrote gushing stories about Notley's announcement did. I just picked up the phone and called the company and identified myself as a reporter and started asking dumb questions like, what's really going on? I spoke with this young lady in charge of PR, Eva Georgieva. I asked her, do you really have any operations in Alberta? Notley says construction is already underway. Notley says the company called Value Creation is, quote, on track to invest $2 billion. And the Value Creation is hiring 2,000 people. Is any of that true? Does the company actually have any operations in Alberta? Here's how that conversation went.
Can you tell me, do you guys actually do any operations?
Well, I can right now, operations in Alberta, no. We have lots of oil sands resources. So we have a demonstration plant in High River, and we have partially built our upgrader in industrial heartland.
Oh, so they have no operations. They have some resources, which mean they have some rights to some oil in the ground. They have a demonstration facility in High River, hundreds of miles away, but nothing's going on right now. But the good news is that the upgrader was partially built, as in those old rotting buildings on that abandoned land that Sheila visited. Yeah, no, there's no operations, there's no construction. But Notley said the company was on track to pour in $2 billion. Is that part true, at least? Where was the money going to come from? So I asked Ms. Georgieva.
Where will the investment money come from, the $2 billion?
Well, as I said, I can answer to those questions via email. I'm not into the financial team, so I can forward those questions to the financial team.
That's a funny answer. So I did send in a very detailed email with lots of questions, but I also just did a bit more Googling. And I came across this news story from exactly 10 years ago. The headline, Oil sands operator BA Energy files for bankruptcy protection. Here, let me read a little bit. BA Energy became the first oil sands casualty of the worldwide economic slowdown after the company filed for bankruptcy protection. The company and its parent company, Value Creation Inc., is struggling to stay afloat after halting construction on a massive upgrader project. BA is suffering from a cash flow shortage and as such will be unable to repay a loan of approximately $50 million plus interest to VCI due December 31, 2008, said BA Chairman and CEO Columba Young in an affidavit filed December 29th with the Alberta Court of Queen's Bench. So it looks like they are a real company, but they became insolvent 10 years ago. The article confirms they were building something, but then they halted construction 10 years ago. There is nothing underway. Rachel Notley lied. So this company that Rachel Notley is about to give a $440 million loan guarantee to, they had to repay a $50 million loan back on December 31st, 2008, but they rushed to court 2 days before that loan was due, and they told the judge they just couldn't pay it. I found this copy of the affidavit filed by Dr. Columba Young. Same guy who was standing at the press conference with Notley collecting a $440 million loan guarantee from Alberta taxpayers. Let me read from Dr. Young's own affidavit that he filed back in 2008. In paragraph 5, he says, BA Energy is suffering from a cash flow shortage and as such will be unable to repay a loan as defined below of approximately $50 million plus interest to VCI due December 31st, 2008. The failure to repay the loan may place VCI in default of its main credit facility, thus permitting the credit facility lenders, as defined below, to accelerate repayment and immediately demand the full balance owing on the VCI PIK loan, which will, as of January 9th, 2009, amount to approximately US $507 million. It goes on like that for a long time. He was basically asking the court to put his company into bankruptcy protection to protect him from creditors who want to be repaid $507 million US dollars. Now, it was tough economic times back then, and his partial bitumen upgrader idea wasn't selling. He told the judge in his affidavit that his technology was really, really good. And when oil prices just get better, maybe someone will come along and invest in it. Here, let me read paragraph 21. This is the last part I'll read. This is the technology that Notley is talking about now. Let me quote. While the VCI technology is not currently in use, there is substantial evidence to support my contention that it will revolutionize oil sands upgrading processes and become an economical technology even at today's pricing for crude. Okay, that's what he said when the price of crude oil was $35 a barrel back in December of 2008. But as you can see from this chart, very quickly the price of oil rebounded. In 2009, the price of oil actually doubled. And by mid-2011, the price of oil had tripled. It was more than $100 a barrel. But still, nobody wanted to invest in Dr. Young's technology Serious companies came to investigate it seriously, but none of them believed it worked. I found an oil sands CEO from a multi-billion-dollar company who himself seriously investigated it back then. That CEO is retired now and asked to remain anonymous, but here's what he told me when I asked about Dr. Young. He has spent the last 15 years trying to convince all serious refining players that his technology of partial upgrading is the answer to all problems. It would have been if only it worked. Total, Shell, BP, etc. all looked at his technology, but none believe it will work. Suppose it is easier to convince the NDP, unquote. And that's the thing. Dr. Columba Young convinced a bank called Credit Suisse to lend him $507 million US. But then he defaulted 10 years ago and he sought creditor protection. His website shows no operational activity in a decade because there hasn't been any. Until Rachel Notley came around with a promise of $440 million of your money. So I did what Eva Georgieva told me to do, and I wrote a detailed email to Dr. Young, and we went back and forth a bit. I asked him how much money did his investors lose? Well, he told me that he did his best to repay the banks. I'm sure he did, but he didn't answer the question. I asked him if he really was, quote, on track to get $2 billion from private sector investors. He replied that he was, quote, in discussion with some very, very important people. I think that's a shy way of saying, no, he doesn't have the money. He said there could be someone somewhere who would invest, but that's not what Notley said. She said the money was, quote, on track. But Dr. Young did confirm what Eva Georgieva told me on the phone. They're not operating anything. They're not an operating company. They're not actually working anything. They don't, in fact, have construction underway. And he said it wouldn't even make sense to raise money yet because they're not hiring anyone. I'm confused. Rachel Notley specifically said construction is already underway. Rachel Notley specifically said they were on track to raise $2 billion. Rachel Notley is a damn liar. But a room full of reporters reported it as the truth. I guess not one of them bothered to check. Is it because they support Rachel Notley politically? Is it because, frankly, they find the oil and gas industry a little bit embarrassing? Like Rachel Notley does? Like it's some embarrassing cousin or something?
So that we can be genuinely proud that we are a leader as opposed to the, embarrassing cousin that no one wants to talk about.
This company called Value Creation already defaulted on a $507 million US loan. Now Rachel Notley wants Alberta taxpayers to backstop another $440 million loan to the company. Alberta's oil and gas workers don't want a bailout. They just want to be left alone by Notley and her friend Justin Trudeau. Stop carbon taxing them. Stop putting on production caps. Stop regulating and suing them to death. Let them build a pipeline. They don't need money or bailouts. They need to be let alone. Rachel Notley is a liar. She lied about this upgrader. It's an empty, snow-covered field, hasn't been touched in a decade. There's no construction underway. There's no money that's lined up. But the entire press gallery in Alberta is complicit in this lie. We here at The Rebel are the only reporters who even bother to check the facts. Say, I wonder if that's one of the reasons why Rachel Notley's hand-picked election commissioner is prosecuting The Rebel right now, claiming that our journalism is some sort of illegal campaign contribution. Yeah, nah, that couldn't be. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levance. I think this story proves it. TheRebel.media is pretty much the last place for independent journalism in Canada. I know that your friends and family have not seen this news anywhere else, so why don't you forward this video to them and share it on Facebook? Thanks.